Alrighty. So, becoming a credible coach. Some of this is elemental, maybe obvious, but I like to wrap up with the course with just kind of making a point about how important this is to your credibility by having consistency. So, living what you teach and practicing what you preach, right? Making sure, like, if you jump into a drill and you're playing as a player, you follow the same principles that you're trying to emulate. Things like you being prepared and being on time, like all the rudimentary things of coaching, like just being a living, walking, talking example all the time is hugely important to your credibility with your players. Having a framework of principles for yourself, right? So we've talked a lot about the principle approach for offense and defense and how we're guiding players, but if you can establish some principles for yourself, like one of my favorites is the tag teach is like 5 words or less, or another one would be like total soundbite instruction in 30 seconds or less. So I'm not soapboxing for 10 minutes unless I really have something important that I want to get deep into. I am saying, this is the concept, this is what we need to fix, back to action in 30 seconds.
It's the
And like,
Twitter method, right? The 140 characters.
yeah, right. Having a constraint on yourself can really improve your instructions, improve your coaching in a lot of ways. Third is having a system that's cohesive and consistent. We talked about that in week one. It's like trying to eliminate contradictions, right? Which is also the next point. Root out contradictions, kind of do an audit from time to time. What are we trying to mishmash together? And this piece just doesn't fit. This drill I found on YouTube is actually contradicting and confusing compared to everything else we're doing. So let's scratch it, right? And being open to others pointing them out, right? And like you get to some solid players in seventh, eighth grade that have a lot of experience, they're gonna be pretty open to saying like, hey, actually, coach, that doesn't make any sense. Like you told us last week to do the opposite, so what's up? And so being accepting of that, trying to have your first filter be yourself, like I'm looking for contradictions in what I'm saying ahead of time, but then being open to people pointing them out, not doubling down on a contradiction because a player is arguing against you, but saying like, well, yeah, actually, I see how that could be confusing. So let me think about that. Maybe we'll scratch one of these two contradiction things off so that it's cohesive again. Next is allowing for improvisation for you and your players. So I'm a big fan, as we've talked about all along here, of setting up a framework for your players. Like, here's the concept, here's some basic rules. I want you guys to play within that rule set and solve the problem. But for yourself, it can be very helpful to say, like, here's a framework for practice. I know I'm going to do 6 things in 60 minutes. But I don't know if one of them is going to go 20 minutes long and the other four are going to be 10 minutes, or what that is actually going to look like. Allow yourself some room to improvise and say, actually, I plan to do this, this, and this, but on number two, we found a huge hole in our knowledge, our skill ability. And so, like, maybe the rest of today's practice is going to be just drilling into that and solving that problem. That's probably the biggest lever we have. And then working on improving your technical ability, right? Your ability to demonstrate skills can go a really long ways in credibility, right? It's like if you can actually handle the ball a little bit and change speed and show what a hesitation into a crossover into a layup looks like, then your players are like, oh yeah, coach has got it. Like I can copy that. Like he actually knows how to do it himself as well as to teach me how to do it. The credibility goes up.
Nothing is worse than seeing a coach that you're like, this guy can't even do what he's coaching. I totally am with you
Yeah,
on that.
right. And something I adopted in early days that I've tried to keep is like I'm dressed as a player. I'm not dressed as a coach. I'm not wearing a polo. I'm not wearing my
Yeah,
warm-up suit, right? Zippered jacket and warm-up pants. I'm not wearing my flip-flop sliders when I'm on the court. It's like, anytime I need to, I can demonstrate it or jump in as a player and like do the thing that we're trying to accomplish. And I think that goes a long way, especially with the age group I work with most, like seventh to 10th grade boys, is like, okay, I came on defense jumping in as a six man in our group and I blocked his shot. And he's like, oh, all right. He's like,
he's for
he's
real.
actually taking this seriously, right? Or I'll hit a shot when they leave me open once in a while. And it's
Yep,
just
yep.
like, yeah, it's there, right? And any combo skill that like ends in a shot, especially, is like make the shot at the end. And I often struggle with that. I think most coaches do. If you're like coaching, talking, thinking about the skill as you're demonstrating it, then it's like, oof, at the end, you're like less likely to make
Yeah,
it.
you can't lock
But
in.
it's like, hey, I can walk you through all the pieces that are here. And all right, let me now do it full speed and I can go do it and make the shot. But
Yeah.
definitely contributes a lot to your credibility when you look like a player and can execute what you're asking of them, which
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of cycles back to the main principle here is, being able to show them and have them do what you do, not just do what you say, right? Not devolving into where we end as parents often, and where many coaches end is like do what I say and not what I do. Trying to
Right.
have the doing ability really can go a long ways.
Oh yeah.
Next, I have gain experience, right? And my favorite quote I like to use came from Steve Martin, the comedian and
Oh yeah.
actor. Be so good they can't ignore you. And there's actually a book by that title I would highly recommend.
This is autobiography.
No, it's actually by a different author. I'm trying to remember the author's name now. I should have had that on here, but it's one of my favorite lines with players. Like they'll complain, I'm not getting playing time, or I got cut from this team, and whatever the case was, is like just be that much better. Like they can't ignore you. Like if you are the dominant scorer or rebounder or whatever your
Yep.
best skill is in your class, it's like the coach can't not play you if you're getting 12 rebounds a game,
Right.
right? That's all it takes. And so on the coaching side is like accept all opportunities to coach. This is something that really has gone a long ways for me, right? Like I lived down in the Caribbean islands while my wife was in school, and it was just like outside in the Caribbean sun all day long, coaching anybody anywhere, and like ended up as the national team coach and like
No way.
traveling to other islands on a boat to play,
That's
the
awesome.
island of Dominica. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, who knew that was going to come about?
That's
Other
where
than just, accepting every possible way to get involved in coaching.
and I had no idea there was basketball down there until VJ Edgecombe. So
Right. It's a whole nother world of Caribbean basketball.
yeah.
Practice the discipline of questions first, right? So one of my pet peeves with the average coach I see is like they walk in a gym, whether it's their gym or they're supposed to be coaching or not, is like they're giving unsolicited advice to everybody nearby that's a player. And you can see the player just like, nod and smile, like try to accept it, but it's like, we didn't ask you to coach us right now. Like maybe I'm just goofing off in my sliders shooting around. Like I didn't ask anybody to tell me about my right hand layup or my jump shot right now. And so trying to always lead with questions, I think, is a huge benefit to both having a welcome or an invitation to your coaching, which means they're going to accept a lot more from it, and also just being okay that I'm not coaching everybody all the time. I'm like here to understand where they're at and what they need first. Kind of goes back to what we talked about with learning versus teaching. Like I'm here to help find out what they need to help them learn the next step forward, not to just teach them whatever I know
Right.
and spray and pray on everybody with my coaching ability because I like it and I'm good at it. It's like ask for an invitation and then it's more effective. Get more practice reps with a variety of ages and abilities. This is another thing that's really served me well. Is like I did a stint of about 4 years where I did after school programs with kindergarten, first and second grade, and 7 or 8 schools where I was there, multiple schools over each day of the week during the winter, and really got a lot of reps. So like, all right, what can we do with this age group? How can we simplify it even more so that a kindergarten that's brain dead after 4 hours of classroom can actually pick up what we're talking about and make some progress with
Yeah.
basketball.
Right. Right.
And with Tag Teach specifically, we've also done some work with the adaptive basketball audience, so special needs players, where we can also use that to further, I think of it as like challenging and refining my instruction abilities. Like, can I get a special needs learner to make a layup work? Like, okay, all these pieces work for them. I can take that back and actually help my higher level players think about this more simply and probably say it more concisely and get better at instructions. And then I really like to encourage coaches to find what age and ability you enjoy working with the most, right? Like I've certainly found the seventh to 10th grade is like my favorite, where they're hungry and they want as much as I can give them, and they're really willing to do whatever we ask of them. and they make a fantastic amount of progress really quickly. So it's almost selfishly, I benefit so much from the reward of seeing progress so quickly is why I like that the most, right?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
And then the size group you enjoy coaching. Like some coaches will go run, clinics with 60 kids on a court. Actually, somebody relayed they had a tryout where there were 67 kids in a half court space
Oh
trying
my
to try
God.
out. It was like, I don't know. That's not my favorite size group. I really like, 6 to 12 kids is great because we can do a lot of both the team concepts and drill down into skills and like touch every player enough to really move them forward. And
Was
then
that for
lastly is
was that one team?
finding
Was
a
that
skill that you specialize in helping players learn, right? And so a lot of coaches land on like shooting. It's just like high leverage skills, something I enjoy, something I can help everybody get better at. And that's kind of my specialty.
yeah.
What would you say yours is, Ian, if you were to
My
specialize
specialty,
in
if
a
I had a
skill?
specialty, um, in terms of skill, I think one of my specialties is just earning the respect of the kids that I coach.
Mm,
I'm a player's coach, I guess you could say. I'm not like a really an
yeah,
authoritarian. And every time I've coached kids, like I get great feedback from the kids and the parents, and to me that means the world to just
yeah,
know that the kids like all respect me.
sure. No, the big one.
And
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, you go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
I was going to ask, what size group do you enjoy?
Size group. I like 12 kids, 10 to 12 kids.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a
typical
basketball team.
team size is kind of what
Yeah,
we're used to as well.
we had what last time I coached in Acton, which was a couple years ago, we had the boys and girls sixth grade team or fifth grade teams at the same time. So
Mm,
my buddy TJ and I um, both kind of ran joint practices and we kind of meshed them and they scrimmaged together and we had we got to do like full gameplay action, which was awesome.
mm,
But it was nice to. But there were times where I wanted to break the boys because I was coaching the boys and I'd want to break them away and go over
sure.
certain things with them.
Yeah. I often recommend that with like rec programs that have very limited space for gym time. It's
Always,
like, hey, you got two teams. Let's run it like a half court practice, and then part of the time we'll get together and do full court stuff. But we're getting
exactly.
more out of the time we have available can be huge.
Exactly. Yes.
Next is really just reviewing, kind of reiterating what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Is learn about learning instead of teaching, right? Trying to help players learn versus teach players something that you know. So, really coming from like the private business oriented approach that I have is like the player is the client. Like it's like do whatever necessary to help them learn what they're seeking. And it's like really going after results. One of my pet peeves I've started framing as sweat and hope is really the industry standard is kind of how I see it, where most people have their players show up, they run around and they get a good sweat and they feel pretty good physically, and we're left hoping something from that is going to translate to a game,
Yeah.
maybe someday, right? And
Yeah.
so like I've gone really deep into the opposite is like I don't want to do anything unless I know it's going to connect to the result that we're trying to get.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like, less and less of drills that don't relate to the game and more like let's pick a game situation. Let's drill into that decision, skills, concepts, and play out of it and make that stick and translate to a game.
Yeah.
Seeking to understand player problems from their perspective. So back to the idea of not offering unsolicited advice, which is where a lot of coaches, I think, go off track, is trying to understand their problem, right? And like a lot of players struggle with confidence, like they use that big umbrella term, both parents and players, but you drill into it, it's like actually they're uncertain what to do in this specific situation. And so if we can give them some clarity and make a one Mississippi decision, that's what we call it, for speed, then suddenly they look confident. And it wasn't this big umbrella, it was actually drilled down into this really specific thing, and we solved it. And now they look confident. Maybe they're not yet feeling confident, but they're doing it at speed and they're making the right decision, and all of that works compared to, not understanding their problem, just offering them solutions that they may or may not need or even understand that they need yet. Next is to give them what they want and then give them what they need, right? Which is, I don't know where that phrase originally came from. It applies to a lot of different areas of life. But players want to play the game. We talked about in practice design. They don't want to stand in line and be bored. They want to know how it relates to the real game. They want to play the real game as much as possible. And so,
Yeah,
like
every
anything we
player.
can do to play and then connect that to, right, here's the problem we experienced in play. Now here's a solution, and now they're willing to work on it. Just has a huge impact on the engagement of our whole team in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
Where we,
every player I've ever coached is like, when are we scrimmaging? That's like the first
yeah,
question.
exactly. Right. And, we talked about my approach early on is like, just get that nail hit on the head right away. Is like, we're going now. Like when you walk
Yeah,
in the door, it's now is
game
game
on,
first. And
game
we're
on.
flying up and down and getting your heart rate up. And you don't even have time to ask the question. We are into action right away.
Yeah,
Finding leverage impact points. This is one of my favorite things. Like, look for the button that has the biggest impact with a very small effort. And a lot of times it is decision speed, right? And whether that player is catching a pass and holding it while they look around when they could make a quick decision, or they're dribbling, which I think is more common because they don't want to be the one that's just a frozen potato holding the ball. So they'll put it into a dribble, but they're really still buffering their brain thinking about what to do as they take 4 or 5 crossovers, right?
yep, yep,
Applying that decision speed really has one of the greatest impacts on their ability to play fast and again be aggressive and confident. Get them on the court, keep them on the court, right? So
yeah,
as obvious as that one sounds, is like try not to get them on the court and then sit down and listen to you talk and try not to get them with a ball in their hands and then take the ball away and we're going to do stretching. It's like get them engaged on the court and keep them there. You could think about that even bigger picture is like over several seasons we want to get them engaged with basketball, have a couple touch points throughout the year and bring them back next year rather than boring them, I guess, would be the worst case outcome in their first try at basketball and they don't ever come back, right? And that's
right.
where I think a lot of the problems are with our rec programs is
Well,
it's
in travel
not
ball
well
too.
enough structured practice to keep the engagement high, and so we just have player attrition all the time. We're losing numbers.
You have it at the rec level, and you have it at like the travel level too. We
Yeah.
the last tournament Cohen played in, he didn't want to go, and I was like, dude, why don't you want to go? I'm tired of
Mm.
losing. Okay, I get that. So he went, and then there was another kid he was playing against who's like, yeah, I didn't want to come tonight, and I'm like, it's sad to hear kids say like, I don't want to be here, but my parents are making me.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think it stems from what you're talking about. It's just like
Yeah.
they lose that interest in it.
Sure. Yeah, I think, very often practices end up being boring to the players that are there. It's like,
Yeah,
want to play the game, and hardly any of this was related to the game. And like, I
right.
would rather not be here. Like, I'm all about
Yeah,
games. Like, I'll show up for the weekend tournament, but when it's practice night, it's like I don't want to go.
yeah.
Very, very common sentiment I see.
And if you don't practice, it's going to be hard to play a game against a team that's practicing.
Yeah, right. There's a tough trade-off with that. So I think it's really on us as coaches to make practice more like the game and make it more engaging and more, I guess, translatable, right? So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
player can see, oh, yes, I see this thing and I know that fits here when we play the game. So now I'm into it. It makes a big difference.
100%.
We talked last week about measurements, trying to figure out how to measure the intangibles as well as the tangibles and really just track that. Like, one of the best things you can point to with players that are struggling is like their past successes. Like, hey, remember last year when you were only scoring 2 points a game? Like, you just scored 10 points in the last two tournament games. We lost, and maybe you missed a couple shots you should have made, but look at the progress compared to your past, right? And then have some transformational examples. Like I try to keep a record to remind myself when I'm having not great results with players. Is like, well, the past, like these three players really did a huge turnaround, right? And that can be like photos, testimonials, referrals, can be cards that players gave you from a past season, like just
Nice.
reminding yourself that you have achieved results even when you're down in the dump sometimes. Remind yourself of past success. Continuous learning cycle. This is a big one. There's actually a book, another book. I recommend a lot of books. There's a book specifically called The Four C's, written by Dan Sullivan. and he's a business coach with a program called Strategic Coach that I found several years back. He's just got great concepts and really simple books with like a one big idea in a small book. And so the big idea here is the cycle of learning. You have to commit to something. You have to have courage to carry out your commitment when you're failing. And then you come out with a capability that kind of works. And over time, that can become confidence. And this is what we teach to players as part of our program, too, is like, we got to commit to something like, hey, we're going to commit to the next 12 weeks to go through this program and try to make some progress. All this stuff we're learning is going to take courage to try in a game because we've never done it before with a real team and a defender on us. Now we got a capability that kind of works in practice, and I've done it a little bit in games. I just got to keep trying it to actually get to the point of confidence. And then the most important part of this that he points out is the cycle aspect. So this is not a one-time thing. It's like when you get confident in that left-hand finish Cohen just mastered, it's time to cycle back to committing to get better at shooting, right? And continuing to do this cycle across multiple different aspects. And so as a coach, trying to find something like, what are you committing to improving this year, right? And for just about everybody, I would say it's faster paced practices and it's simpler instructions. Like if you could do commit to those two things, you're gonna have a lot of courage. Whereas like I really want to talk for 5 minutes about this thing, but I'm gonna keep it to 30-second sound bite and get back to action so that our fast pace can happen, right?
Right.
So some ways to do that. Attend another coach's camp or clinic each year. It's something I want to get back to because I haven't done in a while. I kind of live in my own brain and my own ideas, but I think it's still valuable, even if it's, which has often been maybe why I'm not motivated to go do this as often anymore, is I'm mostly learning what not to do, right? I show up
Right.
to a
Right.
clinic, it's like there's 67 kids in a half court from first grade to 10th grade. Nobody's having a good time.
That's
Like,
horrible.
do not do this. It's my notes, right? Like
Yeah.
learning what not to do can still be helpful sometimes. Read a coaching book each month might be a challenge. Sometimes you can take that as a chapter of a book, like whatever your reading routine is, but trying to absorb new ideas and new information. Studying a video each week is probably easier. There's a million and a half videos out there on YouTube. You can
Oh
find
yeah.
something where you can pick up again either what you would like to do or something not to do. And then the last one is stay humble, like admit your errors and uncertainty to players. Another aspect of importance with credibility, I think, is like, yeah, actually, I planned this drill, but it's really not working the way I wanted to, so we're gonna scrap it and move on, right? Rather than like
Yep.
where most coaches end up is like, you're not doing it right. On the line, we're gonna run suicides. It's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, this was just a terribly organized drill, and
Yeah. The drill's just
it's
broken.
like, or I had this favorite play, and we decided to run it against this other team, and they tore it apart, stole the ball, and dunked it on the other end. It's like, okay, that was me. We tried this new out of bounds play, and
Yep.
we didn't really prepare and get that to work the way we wanted to at first. And so like just having that openness with your players so it's not the authoritarian coach speaking down to them. It's like, hey, I'm learning this thing about coaching while you guys learn this thing about playing. Like
Oh,
let's get together and I'm making mistakes and learning and you guys are making mistakes and
I've
learning
totally
and
said things in coaching,
really
and
really makes an impact on their perception of you and your credibility and their trust in you when you admit mistakes.
yeah, and I've totally done that. Like, just I've said something, and they're like, "Coach, that's not right. It's actually this way." And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. My bad."
Right.
You
No,
know, it is
that
what it is. I'm human.
makes a big difference to the
Just
players when you're
just
able
like
to
the
do that.
refs, just like the refs miss things in games. You know,
Yeah.
we're all human.
Right. Got to give the refs some grace as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was gonna leave off with that and actually switch over to previewing my rough plan for tomorrow with our clinic. So basically, what I have in mind is to do kind of a 15-minute just overview of like a lot of the drills that I've mentioned, maybe demonstrating a few of those, walk through kind of my favorites that's kind of listed here, and then really want to spend the latter half just talking, like getting you guys to do some Q&A time, like how would you approach this skill, or how would you solve this problem I see a lot in my
Yeah,
practices, and then kind of take the coach's choice and troubleshooting is what I put for the second hour, is like kind of go through this list and look at, all right, this is a principle we talked about in theory on our Zoom call. How would you apply that? Or this is one of our offensive tactics, drive and kick. How would you actually implement that in a practice? How would it look to put this together in 5-on-5? And I even put a couple common questions on the offensive side, like how does this translate to 5-on-5? How do we attack a press? How do we attack a zone with an N? There we go. Just kind of the common,
Yeah,
frequently asked questions kind of thing that I hear a lot. But really
it's
hoping to kind of give you guys an overview, walk through some of the things that I want to show you, and then really leave it open-ended so you can, come with your notes from the last few weeks, come with ideas, come with problems if you have some, and really get our feet wet with implementation of how we can really make this stuff work.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because I just was watching a video on how to beat a zone and how and we work on press break all the time in Cohen's practice. So
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think also just cross sharing would be helpful with some of the, like you could say, like, hey, we're using this press that works really good against this kind of defense, or we're using this approach against zone, and let other coaches kind of ask you questions about it too. I think it's great. It's like
yeah,
there was some crossover, and I guess what I'm always looking for is kind of the distillation of, here's a very specific offense with these rules and stuff, but if we boil that down, it's actually like this core principle underlies that, and like anybody could take that principle and apply it to whatever zone you're attacking, kind of thing.